The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Yes now. Woo! Too sweet. The IndySiders are back. We have got a loaded show for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even want to waste time. Let me bring out my co-host. We just had a man-bear chest off, and we called it a draw. Ladies and gentlemen, my tag team partner, Harry Broadhurst. How do you do, sir?
I do well, and apparently we're going to end up on the next big gay brunch if they ever see our outtakes.
Yes. What do we got? We got the back street boys, the backseat boys, and we are the Bear Street boys.
That's really good.
Thank you.
Genuinely popped me with that. Well played.
All right. Well, like I said, I don't want to waste a whole lot of time. I haven't been keeping up with as much wrestling in terms of like news or like watching the weekly program. So if there's been decent promos as of late, I have not really, like, nothing has come across my feed on TikTok, so I haven't been paying as much attention.
I have one piece of wrestling news that you might be interested in.
Hit me, baby.
TNA president Carlos Silva claiming that a new rights deal is imminent within the next 30 to 60 days for the company. Does this mean they're finally going to fucking get off of Access and move to a channel that people can actually watch?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able, unless it was like online somewhere, I wouldn't know where to find TNA these days.
Oh, well, they do simulcast to their YouTube channel, so it's not as bleak as it could be. Right. But with everything that they're doing with NXT and A, I wouldn't be surprised to see the CW become interested in becoming the weekly television provider for TNA.
Yeah. So Raw left the USA Network. SmackDown went on the USA Network, leaving. Where was SmackDown previously?
Fox.
It was on Fox. Maybe. Maybe. They're probably too small for Fox.
Too small for Fox. Fox was reportedly in conversations with AEW, but nothing ever came out of them.
I would be surprised. Is Time Warner looking to pull a 2001 and dump yet another wrestling organization?
Well, so the idea is I don't know if you've heard about this, the whole separation of media ventures at Turner Sports.
Again? We did this 20 years ago.
Well, no, that's when AOL Time Warner bought the company.
Yeah, it's all the same shit. What do you got for me, Harry? What's going on here?
New day, same toilet roll.
Okay. So they're trying to, what are they trying to separate?
No, they ended up staying on. They ended up announcing an extension with Warner Media, so they're staying where they're at.
Yes. Now, for HBO Max, then Max, back to HBO Max again. Everything old is new. All right. Speaking of old is new, we got a lot of shows to preview before we even get to the independent highlight of which the show is named after. So let's get into it.
But to be fair, highlight's a bit of a misnomer.
Yeah. Night of Champions took place June 28th, 2025 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, because it's Riyadh season, Harry Broadhurst, don't you understand?
Whoop-de-fucking-do.
Alrighty. We don't need to get into all things, but some highlights here. Cody Rhodes won the King of the Ring by defeating Randy Orton in just under 20 minutes. I mean, these two guys are good hands. These two guys know how to wrestle. They know how to wrestle with each other. It was a decent match.
Really good old school story focusing on the Orton back injury. I thought that was really nice. And I like the psychology of him selling the back injury off of a superplex, the move made famous by his father.
Yep. I don't even remember what Cody said when it was all done. Like, in all honesty, I know he's going to SummerSlam, and he's got his eyes set on John Cena. But that's about all I remember.
Basically commenting on the fact that some people in Saudi Arabia were booing him because they were pro Orton, but at the same time, when Kingdom hit, every single one of them was singing along. So sit down and shut the fuck up.
Rhea Ripley defeated Raquel Rodriguez by pinfall in a street fight in 14 minutes. The package was better than the match. The
finish scared the hell out of me. I was waiting for that table to break while they were standing on it.
Yeah, pull Kurt Angle there. Oh God, my head.
I mean, I still love the Kurt and Shane spot. That match is hard to watch back, knowing what we know about concussions nowadays.
Yeah,
but at the time, that was cutting edge stuff there, and they beat the fuck out of each other at King of the Ring in 2001.
I could care less about the Sami Zayn Karrion Kross match. I might have slept through it. However, Solo Sikoa defeated Jacob Fatu by pinfall for the United States Championship. This one surprised me. What did you think of this?
We got another introduction into the new bloodline as the former Hikuleo finally made his on-screen debut as Tala Tonga, Tala.
Okay.
I'm sorry, there's nothing that you can do with this package of Tongans and Solo that's going to make me care about them. The problem is you keep putting more charismatic people around Solo than Solo is without letting Solo be himself. He's going to keep getting passed by those people. Look at what happened with words. Look at what happened with Jacob Fatu. Look at what's going to happen with JC Mateo. Look at what kind of happens with Tama Tonga. Tama Tonga can't wrestle his way out of a wet paper bag, but the dude is charismatic as hell.
So with, Jacob Fatu only just won the United States Championship at WrestleMania, and he's already dropped it, and we are in the, we're in July here. So what do they do with Jacob Fatu at this point? I mean, obviously we talked about, like, this guy's a future main eventer, but in the meantime, he's just dropped the title after having it for 4 months. So do you think they do a rematch at SummerSlam?
I do, actually, because we just kind of saw them interact this past Friday on SmackDown, the July 4th SmackDown, which I happened to be live in attendance for.
Oh, nice. How was the night?
It was a double taping for Raw and SmackDown. They did Raw live on Netflix at 6:00, 2 hours earlier than usual, and then they taped SmackDown immediately after, so that way the cast and crew could have the 4th of July weekend off, which was nice of them, I thought.
Yes, absolutely.
It was a fun show. I mean, the longer matches in person get a little bit more intense to take on, just because at home with the commercial breaks and stuff, you're able to get up, go use the bathroom, take a piss break, go get something to eat or drink out of the fridge. In the arena, when you're watching live, you don't want to miss anything, so you tend not to try to do that unless there's something on that you don't care about. I ended up missing a portion of Lyra and Bailey because I had to use the restroom and I didn't make it back to my seat in time, and I'm not going to be that asshole trying to walk in front of people while a match is going on.
Jade Cargill defeated Asuka by pinfall. Asuka's at a place right now where she doesn't have to win matches. I think putting over somebody like Jade Cargill is not a bad idea. I just wish Jade Cargill knew how to wrestle a little bit more smoother than she currently does. She's still a little baby giraffe in there. She's like, she's not quite Angel Reese, but she's not as smooth as some of her colleagues.
Is that Angel Reese missing her first shot parlay still paying off?
Maybe. I mean, I know she's getting called out a lot now for the me bounce thing. But if TikTok is to be believed, she still can't sink a bucket to save her life.
At least nothing outside of 7 feet. Anyway.
Yeah.
So the thing with Cargill is Cargill's going to get what Cargill gets because they feel like they have to with the investment that they put into her.
Sure.
I think this was a mistake. I think Asuka should have won because Asuka and Io Sky is a license to print money at SummerSlam.
Asuka does. Yeah, well, I mean, I understand that Jade Cargill versus Io Sky. Here's the thing: anytime you have Io Sky and Asuka, it's going to be a license to print money. You don't have to do it at SummerSlam. You can wait to do it at Survivor Series. Do it next year at WrestleMania.
It's Jade versus Tiffany Stratton at SummerSlam. If Tiffany gets by her match at Evolution, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Okay. Either way, then you can still do Asuka. So Asuka didn't need to win the Queen in the Ring. Is my point.
I don't think you reward somebody who's not progressing the way that she should in Jade Cargill, though.
Well, that's That is definitely a whole other conversation.
And one we don't have time for tonight.
No. John Cena defeated CM Punk by pinfall. I believe, if I remember correctly, this was all kinds of stupid at the end, where you had does Seth Rollins' group finally have a name?
The Vision.
Of course they are. So the Vision and the Scarlet Witch came down, and they interfered in the match, and of course they cost Punk the match. So because he can't win, he can't lose cleanly. He's too much of it's too big of a celebrity, too much of a baby face. So John Cena wins, but it's because of unseen Bolorcos and shenanigans and tomfoolery. I'm at this point glad the year's half over, and we're halfway done with the John Cena goodbye tour as a heel, because at this point, like, this was fun when he was kind of going at the fans, like I've said before, like an ex-girlfriend. This isn't really fun anymore.
Let me ask you a question. Did you like the Attitude Era?
For the sake of this conversation, I'm going to go ahead and say yes.
Okay, for those of you that say yes, then you should be enjoying the Cena matches as he defends his title in his final run here, because this is straight up vintage Attitude Era stuff.
Mm-hmm. Are people enjoying it, though?
As somebody who personally thinks the Attitude Era was horrendously overrated in ring, I'm not a fan of all of the shenanigans, chicanery, and bullshit. However, I understand why they're doing what they're doing in order to protect whomever they need to protect in the Cena title run. The problem is if this is Cena's last run, which I'm not fully certain that it is, these people don't need protecting. He's John fucking Cena. They can take a loss.
Yeah, but if you have John Cena beat CM Punk cleanly and CM Punk's the one that's staying, look, I don't think he's any less popular, but it becomes harder and harder to believe that he should be in the main event the more he gets beat. Like, you're taking a really nice car and you're dinging it up pretty good. It's still gonna run, still a nice car. A Corvette's a Corvette, but a Corvette with a few dents in it still looks like a Corvette with a few dents in it. You don't really want to dent your Corvette.
I get the idea behind what you're saying there. I do. It's just, I think that you need to feed Cena people that he can decisively beat, then, similar to what they did with the Truth thing, even though Truth got kicked in the balls before he got pinned at Saturday night's main event.
Well, sure. There's a far cry between R-Truth and CM Punk.
Then feed Cena more people on the R-Truth level that he can have those clean.
Let me play devil's TKO for a moment. You need guys at the top of the card who are surefire money draws, and R-Truth, he's good for a stunt casting. He's not a solid main event draw. CM Punk is.
Well, then here's my question: why aren't you using Cena's retirement tour in order to build up new people? Like, I stand by my previous statement before. You know how I think the John Cena retirement tour should end? Mm-hmm. Braun Breaker pinning him clean in the middle.
Yeah, that's fine. Braun Breaker is also a future WrestleMania guy. It's going to be him and fucking Fatu.
Yes, agreed.
WrestleMania 50. But
I don't think it takes that long.
Hear me out on this. And again, this is Mark the empathetic, sympathetic corporatist, not Mark the Booker. Mark the Booker puts all the titles on Gunther, and he just beats everybody.
Actually, Mark the Booker hires Effie and makes him the champion.
You're goddamn right. And yeah, well, but he beats Gunther to do it, see?
Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road.
Oh, my God. You just imagine the all-gay, all-pink WrestleMania. I would move WrestleMania to June just to do it during Pride Month.
And all of a sudden, WrestleMania is coming to you live from San Francisco.
That's right. From the Cow Palace, baby. Not that that's still around, but...
The WCW nostalgia is apparently rolling deep here on the indie side. I mean, we are a WCW show. It only makes sense.
But if I'm TKO, I'm not looking at, like, storytelling. We're not... Again, I think this needs to be said, because you're not really like a Hollywood movie person, and you have a good vision for things, but it's a very Harry-centered vision. It's a very wrestling fan-centered vision.
Agreed.
I'm looking at this from a shareholders and a corporate point of view, and they're not. And these people don't think in terms of good story. They think. I mean, look, I'll give you just an example. This new Jurassic World movie, absolutely noted to death by executives. And their whole thing is, okay, well, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this. And I'm sure whatever the original script was, by the time they were done with it, was lying naked, ass up on a bathroom floor with his mascara running. I mean, it just was not what it once was. And I think
as visions of Natalie and Bruglia dance in my head.
Yeah.
There's a reference, folks.
So my point is, I think if you're TKO and you have any say in what's going on with these events, they're looking at it as almost like music tours. You know, like, in other words, so Metallica just has for the last couple of years have been doing their no repeat weekend.
Yes.
Tours, right? You know, they have opening bands, but the night always ends with Metallica. And Metallica always play, you know, I've just been to one. I took my kids to it in Tampa. Metallica played the hits. Yes. But it's not like, you know, just because, you know, because we got to keep the act fresh. You know, Metallica broke into, you know, I don't know, started playing Taylor Swift music. Like, you know, to try to get the kids in, you know.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but I now need somebody to use Chat GPT, and have James Hetfield busting out blank space.
Sure, absolutely.
Continue.
Yes. To James Hetfield, maybe I'm the problem.
There are a lot of people who would agree with that. James, continue.
Yes. But to take this home, like, also they brought out Ice Nine Kills, Pantera, Suicidal Tendencies, and Limp Bizkit. They did not bring out Crowbot. You know, they didn't bring out like some unknown, you know, some band that could probably use the rub touring with Metallica. They didn't bring out Clutch, who's also been around for 40 years, but still.
Clutch is still a thing?
I just took my kids to go see him 2 weeks ago.
They had like one big song in the 90s. That's literally all I remember them for.
Don't you talk bad about the best band that ever lived and ever existed in the history of music, okay? They have 87 albums and they're all bangers. Every last one of them.
Coming soon on a future episode of Tier List here on the W2M Network.
Anyway, to drive this point home so we can move on to the next thing, because
right.
We're already like 7 minutes over of the segment. TKO wanting to protect Punk and putting Punk in the main event makes sense to me because he's kind of the Pantera to John Cena's Metallica. You don't bring in Clutch, you know, or I don't know, what's a new band that Beartooth, you know, where Beartooth could use the rub touring with Metallica. That's not who you put over. And they certainly don't end the night. Like, Beartooth doesn't like shove Metallica off stage. Like, all right, here we go. We're Beartooth. Like, people understand. What the fuck is this?
Somebody needed to shove Ozzy off the stage at Back to the Beginning. What the fuck was that?
Talk about it. All right. I will give you the last word on John Cena and Metallica.
No, I don't disagree that you put higher end people on the card with him, and you've done that to this point here. He's been in the ring with Cena, or with Cody. He's been in the ring with. It'd be hard for Cena to be in the ring with Cena. You literally couldn't see that match. Anyways, he's been in the ring with Cody.
I almost said no. Like, isn't John Cena the one with the clones? No, Gavin's joke was we killed Dean Ambrose many years ago, and what's running around are his clones.
Jesus. So you put him in the ring with Cody at Mania. You put him in the ring with Jey Uso at Rumble. You put him in the ring with Randy at Backlash. He had the match with Punk at Money in the Bank here. I think at some point you have to transition Cena towards facing the younger or up-and-coming talents rather than just the established names, though, if you want to look to the future.
So he's got Cody at SummerSlam, which then leaves September, October, November, and then, you know, presumably if he doesn't if he doesn't leave at the end of Survivor Series and he actually goes into December, which would be weird.
Tentative announcement has been made that there will be a December PLE this year called Ruthless Aggression in Boston, Massachusetts.
All right, so that's his farewell. So his December is his farewell show, which is awesome, by the way, because I used to love the December show. You had It's Time, named after Vader, who then wasn't on the show. It was
because of the Shawn Michaels hissy fit.
Yeah, that was awkward. And you had Rock Bottom. You had D-Generation X one year. I used to love the December pay-per-views.
D-Generation X is the one that Owen came back after Montreal and beat the shit out of Shawn at the finish.
Yeah, that's where he came wrapped up in fucking caution tape.
That was when he joined the nation.
Because that's how you get over. You either come out of a box or you come out in caution tape.
We're gonna get sued by Cornette.
Anyway, so book the rest of the year for Cena.
Like I said, I think if I have the book, this is Harry the Booker talking here, not Harry's the carpet guy, obviously. If I have the book here, the year ends with Cena putting Braun over clean in the middle in Boston.
Okay, but now let's go back to September.
All right. I think that Gunther has to be one of the guys.
Okay.
Because Gunther and Cena's never happened.
That's a good September. That's a good September show, but that would have made more sense at Night of Champions, don't you think?
I'm sure. I think Cena needs a match with Jacob Fatu.
Okay. That'd be a good October match.
And for Survivor Series, I put Cena in War Games one last time. I'm not sure how you get there. Maybe Cena defends the company against the Vision. Might be the way to go there. You turn Cena babyface coming out of SummerSlam if he drops the belt back to Cody.
Well, actually, it makes more sense if going into Survivor Series, he's sort of forced into a babyface position, leading a team against the Vision, if the Vision are the heels, and then he gets pinned by Braun Breaker at, the Vision wins. Braun Breaker is your sole survivor for War Games, and that leads to their final match at Ruthless Aggression, and Braun Breaker pins him clean as a sheet. I
mean, that's certainly a way to get there, and a way to establish the Rollins group as the relevant, easy for me to say, force on Monday Night Raw going forward into the future.
All right, speaking of relevant forces, All In Texas.
Easy for me to say.
Wasn't the big rub on this that they weren't selling tickets to this, and they
reconfigured the seating arrangement, and apparently some of the previously acknowledged seats don't exist anymore. You guys are gonna have to check WrestleTix for all that information. I don't follow ticket sales. I don't care. I just want good wrestling.
The story I remember hearing, and again, I haven't listened to Cornette's podcast in months, probably since 2024. I may have caught a little bit of it here and there if he was reviewing a show I wanted to get his opinion on, but outside of that, I haven't really been listening to a lot of Cornette stuff anymore, especially since I started working from home. But I remember just when I stopped listening to Cornette is when he was hardcore making fun of this event for them not being able to sell tickets.
Yes, because SMW was super fucking successful.
Could you stick to the topic at hand? I threw it to you to address ticket sales, sir.
I already did. I said that apparently they had reconfigured the seating for the event, and a lot of the tickets that had previously sold were invalid now. So the only people that really have the accurate count on what is or isn't sold are probably the venue and Tony Khan. And Tony Khan's too high on coke in order to know these numbers.
Gotcha. Okay, so they still deserve to be made fun of. That's.
I mean, just in general for Tony Khan, really.
So we have Timeless Tony Storm versus Mercedes Moné for the AEW Women's Championship. I haven't been following AEW, so I'm going to need to lean on you a bit here.
What should happen and what will happen are two different things. What should happen is Tony Storm should retain. What will happen is Mercedes Moné continues her belt collector run.
Oh, she's the new
Kenny Omega, yes.
Kenny Omega? Okay, fair enough. Jon Moxley versus Hangman Page in a Texas death match. Isn't everyone mad at Jon Moxley?
Yeah, the Death Runners are kind of or Death Riders are kind of running roughshod over AEW. I think Hangman gets strapped up here, and if not now, when? Because you're running really, really close to turning Hangman into Lex Luger if you don't.
Well, it's in Texas. If you're gonna put a title on a guy named Hangman, where else do you do it but in Texas?
Somewhere, Mark Schlesinger and Dennis Knight are smiling, or Tex Schlesinger, Mark Canterbury, and Dennis Knight are smiling. All right, they were the Texas Hangman in WCW.
Got it. All right, and then we have the winner take all match to unify the AEW Continental Championship and the AEW International Championship into the inaugural AEW Unified Championship. Yikes.
Nope, rant coming.
Okay, well, let me introduce it. Kazusuke Rainmaker Okada versus Kenny Omega. Go.
Sorry, I have to wait till I get my hearing back.
Rainmaker!
Headphone warning to our viewers, of which we have like 6, but still headphone warning.
By the way, I like watching Okada matches just because I like watching Okada matches if my daughter and my girlfriend are there with us, because then I'll start screaming like a maniac, Rainmaker, and then my son, because he adores me and he idolizes me, will also then start screaming Rainmaker. And there's these 2 women just looking at us, puzzled and slightly annoyed.
Feels like child abuse.
Rainmaker!
It's no worse than making a kid get in the ring and wrestle. Anyways.
Oh my God.
There's a call back. All right. So apparently the belts aren't actually being unified, and that they will still be individually defended. Yeah, no, Tony Khan came out and said this at the press conference for All In. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why do you announce this as a unification match on time? But then you're not actually unifying the belts, and then we're still going to have a Continental Classic again in November. Because this makes fucking sense. You know what it is? Just say that you want to do Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada to do Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada. You don't need to fuck it up with a bunch of different stipulations. It's Omega versus Okada.
Or he can win both belts, but then he loses a belt later on. Or, they'll beat him back for it. Who gives a fuck?
Have one or the other title. Do a fucking coin flip and have that.
Did this? We had fucking, who was it? Kurt Angle come in with 2 belts or whatever, and Benoit and Jericho won each.
The triple threat, yes, at WrestleMania 2000.
That was the perfect way to handle that.
It's just like, why? Why announce it as a unification match if both belts are going to stick around anyways?
That's right.
What fucking sense does that make?
All anyone wants to see is Rainmaker! No one cares about these stupid belts.
Gonna need an ENT when we're done with this show.
Hey, Harry, do you know what they don't need the stupid belts. You know what they do need? Do you know?
Got a feeling you're about to tell me.
Rainmaker! All right, I'm done now.
I hope so.
Waiting for my son to run out here. Rainmaker.
Oh, well, butt scratcher, Family Guy style.
Yes, Rainmaker.
I got that reference.
As my girlfriend finishes off a bottle of vodka. Vodka. Anyway, we have 2 TBD gauntlet matches. Who gives a fuck? Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay versus the Young Bucks. Oh boy, this is fantastic. If the Young Bucks lose, they will be stripped of their executive vice president titles. Yet that's not happening. So I guess the Young Bucks are winning through chicanery.
I actually think that the Bucks are going to lose because, from what I understand, they're not actually EVPs anymore.
Oh, okay. So they're writing that into the show, is what's happening.
So there is talk going around that Matt and Nick's time in AEW is coming to a close.
Well, I mean, they've been there since its inception. They weren't young when they started.
Yeah, they're more like the middle-aged Bucks at this point.
Yeah, they're dad bod Bucks.
Nick more so than Matt.
Yes.
And apparently Nick just hurt himself on a recent episode of Dynamite. He pulled a hamstring or something.
Jumping onto his head as per usual.
If there is one thing the Bucks are known for, it's goofy chicanery shit. I feel like this match will be fun. I wouldn't expect it to make any kind of logical sense, as is the tradition of a Young Bucks match, but it should be fun in the flippity spot-filled kind of way.
Well, Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay, I think, can pull a good match out of the Bucks.
Ospreay's super flippity himself, though, so he tends to...
He can work, though, as opposed to the Bucks.
Can, yes. However, I feel like in the ring against Matt and Nick, he's going to be drawn into his older tendencies.
See, I see it the other way around. I think...
You think he drags Nick kicking and screaming into a psychological match?
I think he makes them work when they don't win. Because here's the thing, I've seen other guys make the Young Bucks work when they need to work. I have seen the Young Bucks kind of exert themselves over some other guys that don't quite have that kind of pull or talent. I think between Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay, they're gonna force the Young Bucks into a match they actually have to work, as opposed to not.
I will say that as of right now, Ospreay is in my AEW match of the year.
Yeah, Ospreay's great. I wish I had more time to watch AEW just for Will Ospreay.
His match with Hangman back at Double or Nothing was phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it's a crying shame he didn't go to the WWE, but On the other hand, who knows if they would, at the time that they were looking at him, who knows what they would have gotten out of Will Ospreay. Maybe the next time around.
Especially given who may or may not have still been involved in the creative process at that point.
That's what I'm saying. Like waiting it out is fine, but I'm hoping he gets at least a goodbye run in the WWE. Kind of like an AJ Styles kind of a thing.
We shall see what happens. AJ just signed a 1-year extension.
Well, of course he did. What else is he going to do? Get a haircut? Get a haircut?
You leave his soccer mom style alone, sir.
I will not. Rebecca! Adam Cole.
Bebe
versus Kyle Fletcher, singles match for the AEW TNT Championship. I don't know what a Kyle Fletcher is.
Kyle Fletcher is the other half of Aussie Open with Mark, what was his name? Mark Davis, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Fletcher's actually a pretty good singles. He's turned into almost a Ospreay-like clone, but kind of standing on his own with the Don Callis family behind him. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised to see Cole put him over for the strap here.
All right. How old is Cole now? 57? 80, 88? I'm just saying, he's, might be a little past his expired date. Rainmaker! And finally, the Hurt Syndicate of Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin.
They hurt people. They hurt people.
Jet Speed, which is Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey, versus the Patriarchy of Christian Cage and Nick Wayne. I don't know nothing about any of this.
They screwed this match up by adding Christian Cage and Nick Wayne. It should have been Speedball and Kevin Knight versus the Hurt Syndicate 2-on-2.
Okay. Is this the main event?
No. The main event is, I would assume the main event is Moxley versus Hangman.
Because that's not the order this is listed in. If this is listed,
I think it's listed in the order announced.
Okay. So this could go in any number of different orders.
Yeah. I believe the main event, though, is Moxley and Hangman. Are
you excited for this?
I mean, I'm probably not going to be able to watch it live because NXT is on at the same time, and I'm an NXT loyalist. I will be the first person to admit that. But I would definitely get around to getting back to it at some point during the course of the weekend. There's so, and we talked about this before we started recording. There's so much wrestling to get to this weekend.
Yeah, so I have a TV, a computer that I'm using. I have a second computer, and then I have my work computer with a second monitor, and then I have my big television. So I've referred to my living room now as the command center, which drives my girlfriend up the wall because she's just like, it's too many televisions, there's too much stimuli in here. So that's fun. So I will most likely have
her inner autistic is showing.
Yeah. I will most likely have NXT and All In going at the same time. Just that Saturday, like the whole weekend's got a lot of shit going on. But I usually will put like sports I intend to watch on my calendar so I don't lose track of stuff. So you have All In, which starts at like 1-ish, the pre-show. Then you have the Great American Bash, which starts concurrently at the same time as the main card of All In. And then UFC on ESPN, Hot Balls versus Teixeira is on ESPN at like 6, plus whatever other normal sports you watch. So, like, there's a lot of shit going on Saturday. My girlfriend's always like, are you like, do we have plans this weekend? I'm like, my plan is to sit my fat ass down and watch wrestling and fighting.
Eva tried to, my girlfriend, she's in the bedroom sleeping right now as I'm recording this. She asked me, are we doing anything this weekend? I'm like, yeah, I'm watching fucking wrestling. You're welcome to join if you want to.
Right. That's good. Yeah. It happens to be the last couple of times I've had my kids, Saturday has been chock full of wrestling or whatever. So, or like I've needed to watch stuff on the podcast. So it's like the weekends that I don't have my kids, I'll usually plan something for us to do. But every weekend I have the kids, I'm just like, nope, I'm sitting in front of the television. That's what I'm doing. Come or don't come. That's what I say. That's how you got to talk to him, Harry. That's how you got to talk to him. Can't be too nice to him, Harry. Can't be like, well, we'll do what you want to do, honey, because then you end up antiquing and divorced. And I said the quiet part out loud. Moving on. NXT.
The views and opinions of Mark Radulich do not necessarily reflect those.
Oh, before we get to NXT, you wanted to talk about the Saturday night's main event.
Just one thing on the Saturday night's main event card there, the Goldberg-Gunther thing here. They're not dumb enough to do this, are they? They're not dumb enough to do this, right? Right?
To put the title on Goldberg?
Right?
Do you remember 30 minutes ago where I was like, if I'm TKO, I'm putting as many name guys at the top of the show as possible? You remember that?
And
do you remember how I said I made the argument of corporate people don't look at storytelling or
one of the rumored potential story matches for Cena was a Goldberg match too.
I fucking hope so. I absolutely hope so.
I will boycott that show out of sheer principle.
Oh no, I will live stream on TikTok buck naked and get to know my damn self if it's John Cena versus Goldberg.
Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road.
I had so many viewers tonight, all gay men. Weird, Harry. Anyway,
it's apparently Wednesday night, not Raw over here on the W2M network. Go check out Effie's podcast. It's actually pretty funny. He watches old wrestling and makes snide comments about it.
Hot bear action here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network.
Somewhere Pero is pissed that we're gimmick infringing.
And when aren't we? All right, NXT Great American Bash also this Saturday, live from Hotlanta, Georgia, home of black people.
Including Lash Legend, who made it very clear that she's from Atlanta this last night on NXT.
Speaking of black people, Obafemi, who
Jesus H,
will be fighting Yoshiki Inamura with Josh Briggs for the NXT Championship. What do you think about this one?
I think Briggs turns on Inamura.
Okay. And Obafemi walks away with yet another.
Yeah, Oba retains. The belt's not coming off to Yoshiki Inamura. Inamura is an incredible talent. He's very good. He's very young. He's definitely got a bright future ahead of him. They actually had, of all people, Kaji fucking Muto appear on NXT last night to wish Inamura luck in his title match on Saturday, which blew my mind seeing Muto on WWE TV.
Oh, that's crazy.
I don't see how there's any way that Obafemi doesn't retain here. I think that there is a guy in NXT that can take the title from Obafemi down the road, but I don't think it's Inamura. I honestly think he's on this card too, and I'll tell you who it is when we get to his match.
All right, Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe versus Fatal Influence.
It's not them.
Casey Jane and Fallon Henley.
So I think there's a little bit of intrigue in this match in that Blake Monroe does not have a match announced for Evolution.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be surprised to see Blake Monroe turn on Jordan Grace, take her out, and then take the match against JC Jane at Evolution for the NXT Women's title.
Okay, sure.
I'm calling my shot right now with that prediction.
I don't
Fatal
have
Influence
a lot
wins.
to argue with you about over that. You think Fatal Influence wins?
I do.
All right. My new honey bunny, Saul Ruka, with Zarya versus Izzy Dame with Tatum Paxley. Honestly, I'm so foreign to the product that these could have all been made up names. This could have been a gimmick, or they just wrote in bullshit, and I would completely believe it.
Izzy's actually dating Braun Breaker.
She got good taste in men.
And he's got good taste in women. She's a smoke show. Izzy's also a former volleyball player at the NCAA collegiate level too, so there's definitely some athleticism there.
Oh, good. So she can take Braun Breaker's spike. Red Baker!
Go ahead and give yourself the rim shot for that one.
Okay. I do what I want. All right.
You hit the wrong one, but it was hilarious in retrospect. Anyways, I think Izzy takes the title here. I think Soul's getting ready to be done with NXT. Honestly, she's already the WWE Women's Speed Champion, and we've been seeing her pop up on WWE television more and more and more lately. So I think her time in NXT is coming to an end sooner rather than later, and she's done pretty much all there is for her to accomplish in NXT. Plus, that Soul Snatcher finish of hers is something that main roster fans, people that don't watch NXT, are going to lose their shit over when they see it.
All right. Which brings us to Ethan Page versus Ricky Saints. Oh, this is a main card match on NXT right here. Ethan Page, he's money. Ricky Saints, he's money. This is a Falls Count Anywhere match. This should be the best match of the night. Hands down, least clumsy, most smooth workers match, but also brutality because it's Falls Count Anywhere. I think this is going to be the low-key highlight of the show.
I don't think there's anything low-key about it. I'm fully expecting these two to deliver. They know each other well. They have a very storied history with each other. The storyline has been very well built, including the twisted grin into the upside-down steel chair that happened on NXT a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you saw that clip or not. It looked vicious. And I think All Ego retains here because I think Ricky Starks is destined for bigger and better things. See what I said earlier about somebody else being the person to dethrone Oba Femi.
Yeah, I can see them putting the title on Ricky Saints and letting him carry it to like the Rumble,
or Mania.
Or Mania, yeah. I mean, Ricky Saints is the total package. He's still fairly young. He's got a great body. He's a good worker. He's a good-looking fella. That's a guy that's a heel you want people to chase.
Well, he's a babyface though right now, but I think you can turn him heel winning the title from Oba because Oba's kind of getting popped because people are impressed by his big man do flippy shit routine that he's been doing here. And for a guy who's as young into the business as Oba is, he's very impressive with how good his matches have been thus far. That said, I think that Ricky Starks, call him what you want to, is a guy who can carry a company regardless of what a certain snowman in Jacksonville thinks about him.
Tell us what you really think about Tony Khan. Rainmaker. Like listening back to the show, this was the show where Mark wouldn't stop yelling Rainmaker. And then finally we have Javon Aarons versus Jasper Troy. I don't know what a Jasper Troy is.
Jasper Troy is the guy who won LFG, the season 1 of LFG.
Okay, cool.
Which apparently you don't know what an LFG is either.
I see clips of it on TikTok and just scroll right past it.
Yeah, no, it's not anything. It's basically tough enough for an updated generation.
Yeah, like The Undertaker's on it. And it's like, I wish The Undertaker would have just... What they should have done with The Undertaker is not acknowledge he was a human and just sent him away, did the retirement thing with him, and then, he just disappears into the ether and he stops doing fucking podcasts.
The only way I'm okay with that is if Michelle McCool fucks off as well.
Oh, yeah. They could all go.
Her especially. Him, the 6 Feet Under podcast is okay before she showed up.
Oh, my God. Everybody needs to stop doing fucking podcasts. You ruined it for the rest of us. That's what I say.
There's no money in it anymore.
You're a fucking global celebrity. You don't need to do a podcast. You fucking go ride your bike and fuck your girlfriend, for fuck's sake. Or wife, whatever the hell she's. Side piece.
Wife.
Your polycule. I don't care. Just leave the podcasting to us people who don't have a voice. God damn it, pal.
Overall, Great American Bash should be a really good show and a nice little appetite setter for Saturday night's main event a little bit later on in the evening.
All right. And then finally, before we get to the actual, indie-rific show, spotlight show, we got Evolution, which is this Sunday. Also from Atlanta, Georgia, because every weekend is a city takeover for the WWE.
Well, they got 3 nights in a row in Atlanta. They got Saturday night's main event and Great American Bash on Saturday, Evolution on Sunday, and then I think Raw is at the Phillips Center.
I would love to look at the TKO's books to see if these weekend city takeovers with a variety of different events actually. Many of which are in the same building. If this actually makes money, do they draw crowds? Can they get people? I know that when it WrestleMania weekend, when they would do the Hall of Fame, SmackDown, NXT, and then WrestleMania in one night, for example, when they did it at the Meadowlands in New York, that whole weekend's just full of wrestling stuff, not the least of which is WWE stuff, and that made sense to me. Doing it once a month, it seems, if not more, and doing it for non-WrestleMania stuff, I would love to know how profitable this is.
Well, I can tell you right now that cities are bidding on these PLEs now, so they're definitely turning a profit off of them.
Oh, then you can't knock the hustle. I'm not going to sit here and complain about it, but I know that the Tampa one, I think they had to cancel something.
NXT. Because It's so close to the home base of Orlando that nobody was willing to fucking travel to Tampa to watch the show.
Okay.
So you know what the problem?
The problem is the city in that particular case.
You know what the problem is overall, though, when it comes to these WWE city takeovers, as we see your son walking in the background?
Is the problem Rainmaker? Thank you.
Tonight's the night that Harry quit the IndySiders. Anywho, the problem with doing these city takeover shows is the same thing that we talked about with the Collective a couple of years back when we reviewed the Collective. And that you get these shows that all look the fucking same. There's nothing to distinguish them. That everything gets painted with a single brush, and nothing looks unique, nothing looks different, nothing looks more than what a traditional show should or shouldn't be.
It's funny you mention that, because you know what I miss? I miss when they used to make every show distinctive. And I mean like
the fancy stages for PLEs and stuff.
Yeah, stop calling them PLEs. They were pay-per-views back in the day, and then we used to walk to school in the 10 feet of snow both ways uphill, and
barefoot.
That's right. Back in my day, when men were men and the sheep were frightened and the women knew their place. Let me tell you that every stage looked like an art piece. Like rare form tonight, Jeffrey.
I'm not gonna lie. I've been watching your movie reviews on Facebook Reels, the ones that you post on TikTok that end up getting posted on Facebook. Yeah. And there are certain ones there that have been popping me on there. Like your Elio review was very insightful, and then your Jurassic Park review just had me in stitches as you were mocking the fuck out of it.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. My point is, like,
you're welcome.
But even WCW would where every pay-per-view had like inflatable shit. Like Bash at the
or like the graveyard tombstone, or like the graveyard tombstones at Halloween Havoc. NXT still kind of does that stuff. Like they do stuff to distinct their. Like I'm sure that they'll have like the 4th of July, the picnic and everything, the environment for the Great American Bash show on Saturday. Much like they did, like the Halloween Havoc show still has the graveyard set up. It still has the inflatables and the tombstones and everything like that. NXT still does that. The main roster doesn't do that because the main roster is compromising space. Is considering the amount of space that it would take to set up a larger stage or a premium event stage. And those are tickets that they're not selling.
Right. Which from that point, I understand it. But I was really underscoring your point of this stuff starts to look a little the same. And
it's all whitewashed.
Right. And when you can't even take the time to make your stage set distinctive, I think this, like, I know for me, granted, if I have, with the little money that I do have, I'm less likely to see a pro wrestling event than I am to see anything else that I would see.
Like a concert.
Yeah. But I don't. Well, part of the reason why I used to want to go to these things was it was fun to be at a happening. It was fun to be at something that truly lived up to the word event.
Yeah.
I can't necessarily say that anymore. Not
the
way wrestling looks today.
No, I'll agree with that because I've had the fortune to go into multiple pay-per-views over my career as a wrestling fan.
Oh God, remember Vengeance in Ohio? Were you at that? Not Vengeance, fucking Invasion.
No, I was only 16 at that point, and I was not allowed to watch wrestling.
Oh, I was there live. I traveled from New York to Cleveland for that.
My most recent pay-per-view would have been Extreme Rules in 2018 in Cleveland, I believe. That was the show that Kevin Owens got tossed off the cage in the match with Braun Strowman.
Mm-hmm. Right.
A lot of those mid 2010 shows run together. I get it.
Sorry, I also got distracted by something, but all right.
How's your parlay holding up?
No, but honestly, it was my girlfriend sending me a text about something having to do not with anything at all. All right.
Not even a fun text. That's unfortunate.
It was not. So JC Jane with Fallon Henley and Jasmine Nix versus Jordan Grace for the NXT Women's Championship.
I think rather it ends up being Jordan Grace or Blake Monroe. I think you have to keep the belt on JC Jane here. Otherwise, she gets that label as transitional champion. I don't know that she is anything more than a transitional champion. She doesn't strike me as one of the premium workers in NXT, and God knows NXT has more than their fair share of athletic female workers. But you run the risk of completely and utterly ruining JC by having her drop this in her first major title defense.
All right, next we got Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley. I'm going to complain about Rhea Ripley for a second. She went.
Hold on. Don't do all the neck beards on Twitter will come for you.
Rainmaker. I hate that fucking septum ring. I just hate it.
Oh, I agree. The nose ring, can't stand it.
First of all, I can't take any woman seriously. Second of all, I can't take any woman. Second of all, I can't take any woman seriously who's got that septum ring, and I'm just like, just want to punch you in your fucking head. Like I can't deal with the goddamn nose ring. It's like coming out like looking like one of the what is it, the trackers or the from the Running Man that that's fucking Jesse Ventura used to call Demolition. Coming out with like looking like you're a roadie for Judas Priest.
Jesus.
I when she was doing that, fine. When she was gothing out, fine. Now, but like she's gone insane with the face jewelry and the tattoos and everything else, to the point where like you went past any point of looking cool. You look ridiculous now.
Would roadie for Judas Priest be better or worse than roadie for Damian Priest?
It would be better. Nobody wants to roadie for Damian Priest.
Tell that to Lola Vice, apparently.
Well, I mean, taking a deep dicking from fucking Punishment Martinez, that's one thing.
God damn. Okay. I didn't see that conversation going. All right, moving on. No, you know what I'm reminded of anytime I see that nose ring of hers? Do you remember the Jeff Hardy Randy Orton match where Orton put the screwdriver in Hardy's ear piercing?
Yes.
That's what I'm waiting for somebody to do to her.
I just want to grab her. I want to grab her by her fucking nose ring, take her out in the field and milk her. My God, man. Like, there's no reason for this.
Paging Buddy Matthews on line 3.
Rainmaker?
No Rainmaker.
No Rainmaker? Oh, he went away.
He was still there.
He's shaking his head at me in derision. Give me a soda.
You pushed him too far.
Give me a drink before I give you the Rainmaker, kid. I'm on a roll here.
Cheers.
Listen, Evolution. Where were we?
Although that being said, if we were the outsiders, these would be hard liquor.
Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley. Thank you, sir. Kind of bored by this. I think I have to assume they're going to leave the title on Io Sky. I think so as well. I don't think they need to take the title off Rhea Ripley. And there's like 3 or 4 other people just in the few months we've been doing the IndySiders that we thought would make a better matchup against Io Sky. So it feels like Rhea Ripley, get her out of the way.
And more importantly for Rhea's been so prominently associated with the women's title that she needs some time away from it. That whole absence makes the heart grow fonder kind of thing. She's getting dangerously close to Charlotte Flair levels in that regard.
You took the words right out of my mouth. You legit read my mind with that.
I love Rhea as a performer, but I think you need to, as Bruce Pritchard would say, time to learn a new hold. Find something else to do on the card.
All right. Moving on to the next thing. The Judgment Day of Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez versus Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss versus Sol Ruca and Zarya versus the Kabuki Warriors of Asuka and Kairi Sane.
This is actually the most interesting Charlotte Flair's been in a long time for me, this little tag team she's got going with Alexa here. Because I think that we could kind of see a little bit of a humanification of Charlotte Flair, making her seem less robotic, making her look like she actually has emotions until Alexa turns on her.
If she finally stopped going into business for herself and fucking airing dirty laundry on the show, is this the Charlotte Flair redemption tour?
I mean, they're keeping her away from Tiffany Stratton, so make of that what you will.
They probably fucking said, we're gonna put you with Alexa Bliss because if you can't make something good out of something with this chick, then we're not go to AEW. We're not keeping you here. Meanwhile,
Andrade came back to WWE to be with Charlotte. Now Charlotte's going to AEW to get away from Andrade. It's full cycle here, full circle here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. Apparently,
yes, sir. It's always full circle. All right, moving on.
But hopefully not full circle jerk. We've already been down that road on this episode.
There's a battle royal for a world championship match at Clash in Paris. When is Clash in Paris?
End of July, I believe.
End of July? End of July is SummerSlam.
Or end of August.
That seems more appropriate. Trying to see if I put it on
end of August. August 30th.
Yep. It's August 31st. It's because the August shows go SummerSlam is
on the second and third.
Mm-hmm. I don't have anything for the 10th or the 17th, but I've got Forbidden Door, Rainmaker, on the 24th.
Son of a bitch.
And then Clash in Paris is the 31st.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense though, because with the 2 nights, with SummerSlam being 2 nights for the first time here, and they shouldn't try to stuff another pay-per-view in between now and SummerSlam, especially since they already have that Saturday night's main event coming up for the guys this weekend, in addition to the Evolution card for the girls.
If they do, they might get the Punishment Martinez. You know what I mean, Harry? You know what I mean? Huh, Rainmaker? You would think I've never seen Okada wrestle before, and I'm like, it's the first time. It's not. I've been doing this for years. And we've lost Harry. Alrighty.
That was out of protest.
Speaking of protesting, Tiffany Stratton versus Trish Stratus.
Well, a little bit of a story here, actually, going back to the match at Elimination Chamber back in February.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Trish isn't going to win. Trish is here to put over Tiffany, and I think that that's a perfectly acceptable use for Trish in this instance.
Yeah, no, this looks fine.
And I'm sure this is probably one of Tiffany's dream matches too. So even all so much the better for her.
Right, and look, they need big name people that are going to reach for the dirty casuals, and Trish Stratus is known by dirty casuals.
Oh, yes, she is. Speaking of which, the casual interest match there. Women's Battle Royal. We got an official prediction for that? I do.
Okay, Stephanie Vader.
Yes, Stephanie Vader.
Perfect.
Last eliminating Nikki Bella, although there is talks that a certain person might show up, and if she's in this match, I would not be surprised to see her win.
Is she a dentist?
No, but she does light it up. Her husband just came back at Survivor Series a couple of years back too.
I feel like I should know who this is.
AJ Lee.
Oh shit! Yes, okay. I could hear her music and I couldn't.
Let's light it up, light it up, light it up across the sky.
Yep. All right. Jade Cargill's gonna prison beat Naomi in a no holds barred match.
Yeah. So here's the problem that I have with booking this match again.
Yeah.
Naomi is Miss Money in the Bank. Quit having her fucking lose. Giving her the briefcase is not an excuse to turn her into a JTTS. For those who don't know, jobber to the stars.
I just want to see Jade Cargill beat Naomi pillar to post. That's all anyone cares about. It's what we should have gotten at WrestleMania.
No, from now on this podcast, she is Jade Cargill.
Okay.
Stephanie Vader.
Got it. All right, and then in our main event, and it is a main event anywhere in the country, Becky Lynch versus Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria.
Not the main event.
No. How is this not the main event?
Io versus Rhea is probably the main event.
Ugh. Anyway, and what should be the main event is Becky Lynch versus Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria. I have seen
Lyra Valkyria.
Lyra. Jesus. Wait, I'm tired. Right,
we got to stop recording these at 11 o'clock.
I have to work, psycho.
I was ready to start at 8.
I was watching Dear Evan Hansen with my children. What, do you want me to be a bad father? You want me to neglect my children, Harry? Harry, why don't you care about the kids?
Fuck them kids.
Oh, my God. Oh, I'm the psycho on here with the terrible take.
As the great Brock Lesnar once said, I don't give a shit about your kids.
My kids are the most important thing in the world. Anyway,
he is legally obligated to say that as a parent. I have no kids, therefore I don't care.
Moving on. I did catch a bit of the promos between, there's some legit heat here with Bayley and Becky. And honestly, like, Lyra is kind of an also ran when you think about. There's a real like undercurrent of a true story, which is why this is like the most interesting thing going on between Becky and Bayley, because Bayley's only the cool girl when the cool girls aren't there. But as soon as the cool girls show up, Becky goes back to
Bayley goes back to being second fiddle.
Yeah, and it's like if you're Bayley, probably in real life you can cope with that because they're paying her real well and this affords her to go do other things she enjoys. But as a character, drawing on a little bit of hurt feelings, this is like a big deal. You know what I mean? Like when you feel like you're the company person, but you're not an A-list player. Like she's the chick Daniel Bryan. without there being like a corporate entity to tell her this.
No, that's 100% accurate, I think, here. And even more solidified by the fact that they pulled Bayley from WrestleMania this year to put Becky in her spot.
Right. And women cried and babies were thrown in the air. Like, how do you, like, Bayley should have, like, the next night joined John Cena in breaking up with the fans.
I would never break up with Bayley. Too much cake. So much cake.
I feel like you're doing a kink thing now, and I would like you to remain in your role on this podcast, not take my role. Jesus, Mary, and propriety, sir, propriety.
Are you feeling infringed?
A bit, a little gimmick infringed. All right.
Fair enough.
This Evolution card actually doesn't look that bad. I'm gonna have it on in the background. I'm gonna be recording with Jesse, but I actually think it looks like a pretty good card.
How is Mr. Starcher?
He's good. He's American made. It's good.
USA.
Yes. All right.
Speaking of America, what better segue?
So, story time, real quick. I'm not going to draw this out too long, but I am a two-time cancer survivor, and the first time I got cancer and I was getting chemo, they started my round of chemo over the summer of 2017, and so this is 7. We're in 7. It doesn't matter. My point is, I remember being in the hospital for a lengthy bout of treatment. I remember my wife being there at the time, my then wife.
The less said, the better. Let's not get you lawyered.
Yeah. And I remember, like, if I wasn't chemo, or maybe they were doing something to, like, lower my immune system so I would better accept the chemo, something along those lines. I don't remember which thing this was. But I remember it was like an 8-hour day at the hospital. I was, I had the drip in my arm the whole day. I was being fed drugs, and I was just hanging out in this room all day. And I needed something to watch and something to kind of keep my spirits up.
Of course.
So I'm flipping through my phone. I'm going through apps. I'm trying to find something to watch. Something that's not going to take out. I wasn't feeling well. I was getting cancer treatment at the time. So
something that you could put on as background noise while casually paying attention to. No, I get it.
So I'm flipping through what I think was the Fight app at the time, FITE.
Yeah, correct. Fight TV.
And I come across Game Changer Wrestling, Backyard Wrestling. And I go, well, this ought to be a hoot. And I think at that time I hadn't watched a whole lot of Game Changer Wrestling. I mean, this is pre-COVID. I'm not really watching a lot of independent shows at this point. I'm not really.
Bloodsport wasn't a thing at that point, so yeah, that probably would have been one of your earliest ventures into Game Changer, if not your first.
Yeah. Bloodsport and Backyard Wrestling were kind of around the same time because Pat kind of turned me on to Bloodsport.
The original Bloodsport, were you there for the original Bloodsport with Matt Riddle?
No, I never saw the Matt Riddle ones. I've only seen the Josh Barnett ones.
Okay, well, I have, we'll talk off air. I might have a way for you to watch the Riddle one.
Okay, doesn't matter. My point is, I fucking fell in love with this show. That was the first time I think I'd ever seen Schlack, who I instantly fell in love with. I was like, oh my God, that's my dude.
Fun fact, almost a year later, I got to see Schlack almost die in front of me.
That's not surprising. Schlack almost dies a lot.
King of the Death Matches in 2018. He gets his thigh pierced by a filing cabinet. I think I've told you this story before.
That's about right. So I see Schlack for the first time. At the time that they were doing this, a lot of the guys on the show were going by their backyard names. So
I'm pulling up the Wikipedia of wrestling cage match right now.
Yeah, so he's a very strange boy. Jimmy Lloyd went by his fucking backyard name was anonymous spelled backwards, some shit.
Or synonym or something.
Yeah, it was something weird. But that was the very first time I saw it. They had a pool back there, and they had a trampoline, and they were wrestling on the trampoline. And you got to understand, I'm in a lot of pain. I'm tired. My immune system is dying.
My apologies for having to deal with Kevin Gill on those old shows.
But I laughed fucking hard at that show. And then at the end, where the fighting goes into like where the parking lot is because like they're at somebody's house or the park or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's big cars everywhere, and the guys are just hitting each other with cars. It was the best part of having cancer. Like, I could
not that that's a high bar to clear.
From that point on, the July 4th tradition has been I'm going to sit home and watch Backyard Wrestling. One year, like we actually threw a party, and I invited people over. I'm like, you gotta, like, we bought like a small pool that like for the kids to play in the backyard, and we literally had ourselves like a backyard pool party.
2019.
2019. Okay. Okay. So the first one was in 2019.
Correct.
Then okay. I know what was happening then. I was getting chemo, but not to treat the cancer. It was to lower my immune system to accept the CAR T. That's what was happening. That's why I was so sick.
Emanon was Jimmy Lloyd's backyard name. It's no name backwards.
That's the one. So anyway, every year since, it's been a yearly July 4th tradition that I watch Game Changer Wrestling, Backyard Wrestling. I love this show. There have been years where the final match is them shooting bottle rockets at each other.
Or Roman candles.
Yeah, Roman candles.
Like it's a freaking Matt Hardy final deletion bullshit thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's been I think it was either last year or the year before where somebody went in a barn and they blew the barn up.
2 years ago, I believe.
Like legit blew it up. Like not some WWE fakery.
Last year was the one where Joey Janela was drunk in the grotto pool and then came down and wrestled for like 20 minutes.
Yeah. So
against his cousin, or Joey Janela against Donnie Janela, I think it was.
Right. So when I say I was really looking forward to this show, this is like my WrestleMania. That's not hyperbole. I fucking love Backyard Wrestling. This did not live up to the years prior. So with that said, Harry Broadhurst of the Screaming Boy podcast, we opened up with a non-title tag match of YTNP of Alex Price and Jordan Oliver defeating the Backseat Boys of JP Grayson and Tommy Grayson.
The new Backseat Boys of JP and Tommy Grayson.
Yeah, what do you think of this match?
Good match, not fit for a backyard wrestling show.
Yeah.
They worked in some of the stuff with some of the things there. Like Tommy did a flip dive off of the trampoline, which, I mean, yeah, it's cool that you're working in your atmosphere here. But these are four genuinely good workers here in Alec Price, Jordan Oliver, and then the Grayson brothers.
The Backseat Boys look like the Young Bucks bought off Temu.
Well, it's a parody of Trent Acid and Johnny Cashmere from their run as the Backseat Boys in CZW back in the early 2000s.
If you say so.
I'm well aware that your area of indies in that was on the left coast, not here on the east coast.
Yeah.
Less said about that, probably the better, lest we get sued.
So decent match, though, you think?
Solid for what it was, but again, no place on a backyard show. It would have fit in better on an actual GCW show, not so much the backyard show.
Here's my problem with the Backyard Wrestling 7 years into this and 7 shows into this. And, with the original GCW Backyard show, they sprinkled in a lot of the backyard stuff. Like, it took a match or two to get in the pool. They started off on the trampolines, but that's all they did. Like, the backyard stuff, they worked their way up to the insanity. Here, it's like nobody has any. This was always the thing about like using super kicks. You can't use a super kick. Shawn Michaels uses a super kick, and he ends the show. So nobody does a super kick. It's same principle here. When you start using all the backyard stuff everywhere, like in your first match, everyone's jumping out of a fucking tree. Like, all right, well, there's nothing to build up to then. And then this becomes the same fucking match over and over.
For example, the big spot from this match was Big fucking Vin driving the guy on the ATV in order to deliver a kick to the face of, I think it was Alec Price.
Right.
Why are you doing that in match one?
Yeah, I'd have been pissed if I were the booker. I would have been pissed if I was in any of the matches.
Well, the booker was on commentary.
Yeah. All right, then we have a 6-way scramble match of Pizza Cat Jr., who defeated
There's a story here.
Charlie Tiger, Claude Marrow Jr., Lucky 13, Sean Henderson, and Tony Deppen. I never get tired of seeing Tony Deppen, by the way.
There's a story here. This was actually supposed to be Pizza Cat Jr. versus Pizza Cat Sr., but Pizza Cat Sr. had flight issues. No,
fantastic.
Real story. For those of you not in the know, and I'm assuming Mark isn't based on his reaction there, Pizza Cat Jr. is Billy Starks.
Oh, okay.
Pizza Cat Sr. is Shotzi Blackheart.
Oh, shit, really?
Who just made her return back to the independent scene. This was supposed to be Shotzi versus Billy for the first time since before Shotzi went to the WWE.
Oh, wow, that would have been fun to see. Anyway, you know how I feel about intergender matches. And they had Pizza Cat winning this one. And while Pizza Cat is totes adorbs, I wasn't in love with this finish or who won the match.
My big takeaway is Ruckus has gotten fat again.
Yes, indeed. And Tony Deppen is wasting his life away in GCW. Tony Deppen needs to be seen. Tony Deppen
with Effie on Raw.
Yes, Tony. I need to see Tony Deppen versus Effie at WrestleMania for the title.
I do love Tony's entrance music.
Yes. Oh yeah. Can't get enough of that Tony Deppen or that Golden Crisp. Anyway, then we had a singles match of Mosh Pit Mike defeating the North Korean assassin. So I'm watching this with my girlfriend who has no fucking clue what this is, and
send her my apologies on our behalf.
And when the North Korean assassin came out, she legit fucking laughed. Like she was just sort of mildly tolerating this show up until this point, and then the North Korean assassin came out, and she was like, "What the fuck is this? What are you watching?"
I mean, what the fuck is this? Is pretty much GCW in a nutshell, is it not?
Yeah, for a certain, sir. What'd you think of the match?
It was there.
It was there.
Is this the one that had the finish with the wolf packs taped to the board?
Maybe.
Or was that the next match? These things kind of run together.
Yeah. So the singles match is KH, who was KJ Orso, AK-47 of Austin Keith. I barely remember this match.
All right. KJ Orso is formerly Fuego del Sol, if that does anything for you.
A little bit. I at least remember that name.
He was in AEW in the early days, more or less the Jacksonville pandemic days. Fuego did a lot of stuff down there. He was like Cody was like Fuego 2, if that means anything.
Okay.
KJ just recently turned heel. I don't know why you're having him work a gimmick backyard gimmick comedy show when you just had him turn heel in your main promotion and you're setting him up to be one of your marquee players. Didn't make any sense to me, but I'm not Brett Lauderdale, so what do I know?
Which match is it where the guy set his cape on fire and legit had to jump into the pool?
That was coming up. JJ Allen versus Tarzan Duran.
Fantastic. Tarzan's great. I got a kick out of him.
That was the one that had the finish with the Wolfpack firecrackers, by the way.
Yeah. So at first I didn't. I thought like he didn't like.
No, it was gimmicked.
It was okay. Okay, I wasn't sure if he legit knew he set himself on fire.
All right, so here's the thing that you have to understand with JJ Escobar Allen. This is a guy who has had his balls set on fire and then got hit with a weed whacker and then before. I was really hoping for a spit take there. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, they used the weed whacker in the opening montage for GCW, so.
But no, it wasn't for a GCW show. It was for an IWA Mid-South show. It actually got him kicked out of the building that they were in.
Well, you shouldn't be attacking each other with fucking weed whackers.
To the balls that are on fire. No, and the weed whacker wasn't the problem. The fire was. Well, the building owners had a problem with the fire in their building. Go fucking figure.
Always the fucking fire. Anyway, this was a fun match. I like Tarzan.
We skipped a match. Oh no, this is the next match. I take it back.
Yeah. All right, the next match. This one I don't know. I think I might have been dealing with food, or I wasn't paying.
You didn't miss anything.
Banging my girlfriend, but yeah, this was Sleepy Ed defeating Cocaine, and the Sleepy Ed thing. I remember thinking about this. I was like, I must talk with Harry about this when we have our IndySiders show, and if I don't talk about this, I'm gonna be mad at myself. When you're thinking about your gimmick, when you're like, I'm gonna design a gimmick for myself, I'm gonna be a wrestler, I'm gonna live my dream, and you're thinking, and I think like Cornette has said this, but also what's his name, Brother Love,
Bruce Pritchard.
A lot of the old guys will do the championship test of a name. It's like, and new WWF champion. At what point in your gimmick development did you go, my whole gimmick is I'm going to fall asleep during matches like I have narcolepsy?
Sleepy Ed. Well, you know what it is.
That's going to get me to the big time.
He took Mr. Hughes' thing and made it an actual gimmick.
It's the stupidest fucking thing.
Have you ever heard that story before, the Mr. Hughes story?
No.
Legitimately fell asleep on the apron of a tag match because of narcolepsy.
Oh, I have heard that. I have heard that story. I think Pat told me that.
This was back when he was like fat Mr. Hughes, not current skinny Mr. Hughes that trained A.R. Fox. And how crazy of a fucking wrestling world is it when you think that the fat guy from ECW, Mr. Hughes, is responsible for training A.R. Fox and Austin Theory?
That's pretty crazy. My point is, if you've decided that you're gonna wrestle in pajamas and you're gonna fall asleep during your matches, you're never
Work for Wendy Chu.
You're never getting off the indies ever.
Tell that to Wendy Chu.
Why? What does Wendy Chu do?
Before she did like the horror inspired gimmick that she did, her gimmick was basically that she had narcolepsy. They more or less stole Sleepy Ed's gimmick in NXT. NXT is the Wild West of the WWE, man. Yeah, I'm telling you.
No serious person's going to be hired with a fucking narcolepsy gimmick.
Well, Wendy didn't have a narcolepsy gimmick. She was carrying Q on the indies.
Yeah. My point is that, first of all, even like let us say, for example, somebody's like, please forgive the stupid Sleepy Ed thing. He's actually a great worker. We should get him. The minute he walks into Orlando, they're like, you're no longer Sleepy Ed. You will not even acknowledge that you were ever Sleepy Ed. We're going to burn all that footage. Now go wrestle like a normal person.
So I'm going to say two words in response to that might piss a lot of people off.
Orange Cassidy?
Those would be the exact two words I was thinking.
But see, again, Orange Cassidy gets away with what he... First of all, Orange Cassidy really walks that line. Like, they'll never let him do it in the WWE, but at least, like, he's been in enough matches now in AEW that everyone kind of gets that, like, he does the gimmick for a little bit, but then he has to actually wrestle. And when he actually wrestles, he's not bad.
Arguably one of the best things to ever come out of Shikara.
Yeah.
We can have the whole who they were, who they weren't in Shikara conversation another time. This isn't the place for us to be breaking kayfabe and stuff like that. But
what was the match he had with Jericho where they were wrestling in Champaign?
Mimosa Mayhem.
Oh yeah. Not nearly as good as Assholes in the Arena, but that was still fun.
Rainmaker.
All right. Joey Janela versus Crazy Mike defeated Crazy Mike. I have no sentimental attachment to Crazy Mike, but in this felt like, the Hall of Fame match.
Yeah, you know what this felt like to me? This felt like two buddies getting in the ring and jerking each other off for 20 minutes.
Yeah. So what was Crazy Mike's whole claim to fame, that he would jump off things and land on his face?
He went viral back when going viral was a thing, originally a thing back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, at the birth of Al Gore's internet.
Ah, got it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then finally...
really? Nothing for that? I figured for sure that joke would kill.
We have a no-rope barbed wire death match between Little Skittle, who defeated Master J, who's Jay Sawyer, 12 minutes, 18 seconds. So, because I know how these things go, or they're supposed to go, I sent my girlfriend out of the room because she's like, I like horror movies, but I don't like actual violence. And I'm like, oh, well, these guys are going to wrap each other up in barbed wire. This is going to get gross. They're going to lacerate each other. And she's like, I'm like, I'm going to go get dressed then, because I was taking her, Harry, on a sexy date to a babushkas. We had Russian cuisine here in Tampa. Anyway, I sent her from the room.
Followed by a pleasant trip to Pound Town afterwards.
Of course. So she went and got ready, and I watched what was supposed to be my gross death match, which I was looking forward to. And I didn't get a gross death match. I got a match cosplaying as a death match.
Neither of these guys are deathmatch guys, and you can't put non-deathmatch guys in deathmatch stipulations because it never goes
right.
Well.
Then don't do this. Then is my point.
Exactly. No, I agree. I get that you're trying to build this up as some kind of heated rivalry that maybe 4 fucking people care about. On a backyard wrestling show, we don't want shit like that. We don't care about shit like that. We want the ridiculousness of the backyard. If you're going to promote a no-rope barbed wire match, put people in the match that know how to work a fucking no-rope barbed wire match.
Yeah. But you're absolutely right. Like, this was a severe letdown from previous backyard shows.
So
where the end of the show really leans into the whole backyard thing, where it's like, oh my god, they blew somebody up or hit him with a car or shot him with a bazooka. Like, this was no big deal. This is nothing I haven't seen before.
The only thing backyard wrestling-esque about this show that happened was the guy getting thrown into the trunk of the car and driven off, because I've seen that storyline literally play out in backyard wrestling companies before. I used to be involved in some backyard wrestling when I was younger. I am no longer a young man anymore. That shit's way behind me, but I was involved for a while. And the dive off of the roof by Crazy Mike through the table-ish onto Janela. Mm-hmm. Those were the only two things that struck me as distinctly backyard wrestling for GCW on this show here, because pretty much everybody used the trampoline. Pretty much a lot of people used the pool. A lot of people used the swing set and the trees and the mattress and everything that were at ringside. And we've had this conversation on the show before. If everything's special, nothing is special.
Yep. So big disappointment for me.
Scale of 1 to 10.
5.
That's probably generous. I'd put it closer to like a 4.
Whenever I make a big deal out of these things and then like they disappoint, it makes me look to the person I'm making a big deal out of this to, like what I don't understand why you got excited about this, and then I have to like kind of backtrack and be like, I don't understand why I got excited either. Like, that's the thing. It's like you only get one chance to make a first impression.
You'd have been better off showing her the original backyard wrestling show from 2019.
Yeah, exactly. Like, showing her this one as a way to start this is a non-starter.
Although, be careful. There's one of the no people on the original backyard show, so be careful.
Oh, that doesn't bother me.
Well, we frown upon kid touchers on this particular podcast.
We do, but you have more knowledge about that than I do. Like, I wouldn't have remembered. All right, well, I don't remember things is the phrase that pays here on the IndySiders. So that's the end of our show. Harry, this was a fast hour and 20 minutes. We always say we're only going to do an hour for these, and then we always do more than an hour. We always end up going about an hour. Why don't we just start budgeting for an hour and a half? And that way, when we finish in an hour and 21, such as we're about to right now, we feel accomplished. There you go. All right, speaking of accomplishing something, on Sunday, myself and Jesse Starcher did a Barry Levinson focus on Triple Feature. We looked at Good Morning Vietnam, Sleepers, and Wag the Dog. We had a great show.
Rest in peace, Robin Williams.
Yes, sir. Myself and Robert Winfrey reviewed Jurassic World Afterbirth on Damn You Hollywood. Tomorrow.
You are not the first person I've heard call it that.
Yep. Tomorrow, myself and Shay Tate are going to be taking a trip back to musicals. We're going to be looking at Odessa, which is on Hulu. The End, which is also on Hulu. Came out at the tail end of 2024 last year from Neon Studios. And then Dear Evan Hansen, You Monster, which is currently on Peacock. So check that out. And then I'm doing an extra show this week, a special late night show. Myself and Pat Mullen will be talking Tulsa King Season 2. I binged all 2 seasons the last couple of days.
Is that Sylvester Stallone's show?
Yes. It's a Taylor Sheridan show, but it's Sylvester Stallone. This Sunday, while Evolution's on, after I see Superman, the Metal Hammer of Doom Jukebox is back. We're going to be reviewing Bloodywood, New Delhi. Get it? New Delhi? Do you get it? And then Superman. We're going to be reviewing Superman on Monday the 14th. Wednesday, myself and Alexis Haina will be reviewing the Amazon TV show I Know What You Did Last Summer. And then Sean Comer and I are going how far back? Way, way back. We're going to the Long Road to Ruin, and we're going to be reviewing the I Know What You Did Last Summer movie trilogy. So I have so much shit to watch. It's just so much. Oh, Harry Broadhurst. On Saturday, July 19th, Comic Stripped is back. We're going to be comparing the Hercules trade paperback to the Hercules movie from 2014 starring Dwayne the Pain in the Ass Johnson. Harry Broadhurst, do you do any podcasting anymore or what?
We're in the process of bringing back the Not a Network podcast. Eric Watkins and I have been discussing some stuff. In addition, I'm also involved on a show called Bad Brackets with one of your former co-conspirators, Randy Isbell.
That's right. You keep telling me that.
We also have another episode of the IndySiders coming up later this month. You might want to let people know about.
We do, yes. On
July 30th.
We've got the IndySiders, we're going to be looking at the 2-day event, Scenic City Invitational, because Harry hates me.
The shows are only going to be like 3 hours long each.
Oh, my. Harry, I have a job.
You might not after Scenic City.
Ugh. All right. Well, folks, me making Jewish disgust noises is the phrase that pays here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. So, for Harry Broadhurst, I'm a sleepy Ed. Be well, be safe, and behave.
Oh.